For life.
Yeah. Bullet cast. What's going on? Stacy. This elite podcast in here. Ain't nobody better. Look. Yeah. Listen to us every time we live in the side.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You know the name, you know the voice, you know exactly who I am. Just in case if you don't, I'm a 26-year-old piece of gold, the Messiah of the microphone, and the greatest sports and recreational podcaster in the world today. Today's episode 280. We crying real bullet tears out here. It's just a great time to be a podcaster. Cheap Heat's popping off. Sam Roberts has his 400th episode next week. And here I am, 280 straight weeks of being, the best in this game. Yeah. I am joined by former Bullet Cast champion, Mr. Brandon Atticus Simp, Brandon Atticus Boss. What's going on? It's Wednesday. You know what that means.
Occasionally it means a new episode of the Bullet Cast. And yes, we're here, just the two of us, OGs, once again. Episode 280, only 278 of them actually count.
They all count.
But it is a monumental episode. We got a lot of things to talk about. Not some not so good things we have to talk about, but we have a lot of, the tiers list is something we've been working on for a while, and it's going to definitely evoke some discussion.
Yeah, shout out to those that voted on this, and shout out to those that actually understood this.
Just me. Am I the only one that actually understood what to say?
Your list, you were being too cute with it.
Oh, we'll get into my list.
We'll get
eventually.
We'll get into your list. But yeah, so a lot has happened in the last 160 hours. That's 7 days. Look at that quick math. I should have been an accountant. Jesus. Oh my God, but that's boring. I live a nice lifestyle. Yeah, so Jeff Hardy's been arrested yet again, charged with DUIs. This is his fourth in like 3 years or something like that, they said, or I don't know. His
fourth in about 10 years.
His fourth in about 10 years. His blood alcohol level was almost 4 times the legal Florida limit. Brandon, what are your thoughts, man?
It is disgusting. It is sad. It is a whole just combination of emotions with the Jeff Hardy situation. Obviously, we want him to get help. We want him to, figure out his life. And it's just been something he's been dealing with for like 20 plus years, like pretty much like his entire career being in the spotlight. And, he got pulled over on Monday. The video leaked like yesterday, and it just was not a pretty sight. It sucks because, people love Jeff. People hope he were to get better. It looked like he was on the right track these last few years, but then like the WWE, like the way that relationship ended with that house show, and he just walked out. And then allegedly WWE offered him help and he said no. Then they try to, give him a Hall of Fame spot just so he didn't go to AEW. And then as soon as that 90-day compete clause ran out, AEW signed him up. And then also just all the matches he was doing, all the bumps, all the high octane stuff he was doing didn't help. I mean, he just got knocked out in that Double or Nothing match a couple weeks ago. And then they're going to put him in a ladder match today, which I thought was just insane. But yeah,
are you trying to say Tony Khan doesn't know what he's doing?
This definitely is not okay, so I'm not going to blame Tony Khan for Jeff Hardy's actions. That is all on Jeff. It lays on him. He's the guy who should take the brunt of everything because he could have killed somebody. I mean, honestly, we're lucky this didn't happen. We talk about Sunny, we hate on Sunny so much about what her issues are, and it's pretty much the same thing with Jeff, driving under the influence, like broad daylight, a lot of people on the road at that time, a lot of, kids and families on the road, and he could have legitimately killed somebody like Sunny did. Thank God that didn't happen. But going back to the AEW aspect of things, it's not a good look for them. Last week, just from we're not going to talk about the booking because this is a much bigger deal than that, but it has not been a good week for AEW. And as I was saying, like the optics of Tony signing Jeff the 90 days after all this stuff went down. And, he did the interview I think he did like a thing with Jericho when Matt Hardy was there, and they kind of played it off and said like it wasn't anything to do with substance abuse, yada, yada, yada. But I know looking back on it, we kind of had our questions. We wanted to take it at face value of what Jeff was saying. And now it just kind of everything's adding up, and WWE offered him help. He refused. And AEW has egg on their face now by signing Jeff Hardy, putting him through all these grilling matches. And then what happened?
Well, I'm going to put it to you like this. They don't have a wellness policy, so he can do all the drugs and stuff that he wants. Yeah. I'm like, hey, man, Vince offered him rehab, and he turned it down. He got offended by it. And he left, and look at where we are. Wonder if he was still in WWE, but he would have gotten the rehab, and this really probably most likely wouldn't have happened.
But Phillip, he has had issues for over 20 years, and this honestly might be a wrestling thing, like him on the road taking bumps, just living that type of lifestyle. I think it's almost clear at this point that maybe this man shouldn't be wrestling. I know it's a little late now because he's in his mid 40s, but it's like maybe and honestly, I don't know what AEW does after this, because they put out the statement that he's suspended without pay. He's going to go through a treatment plan, and he won't come back until he shows improvement, whatever that is. But I just don't know how you bring Jeff Hardy back and you treat him, like the babyface star that he is after all these things that have happened. I mean, I don't want to equate it to Hulk Hogan, but it's almost kind of like Hulk Hogan, that all these things in his personal life, and then you're going to bring him back. And that's really the only way you can book Jeff Hardy now, is like as the crazy baby face that everybody loves. I just don't know if that's someone you should be celebrating right now, or, ever, I think, at this point.
Yeah, man, it's sad. I mean, people are like so disappointed in Jeff. How do you think I feel, man? I've sang this man's praises for years. I cut up my mom's socks and made them into Jeff Hardy armbands and did the Jeff juke and all that stuff. I'm gonna read some fan mail we got about a jack of all trades. Jesus, Jeff Hardy, man, when is this guy going to learn? I know everyone has demons that they have to deal with at certain points in their life, but come on. Guys like Jake the Snake Robertson, Scott Hall beat their demons. I was hoping Jeff would finally do the same. And then I'm gonna go over to the Instagram DMs, because you know who's hit us up. The homie.
Mr. X.
Mr. X, yes. He says the whole situation with Jeff is just heartbreaking. How many chances can you give someone? Hopefully this is the last wake-up call. He needs to finally clean up his act. He's one of the best, or he's one of my favorites of all time, and I wish all the best. I wish him all the best. But I mean, damn, how many times can you get let down before you say enough is enough? Yeah, it's tragic.
And I do wonder what that process was once Jeff left WWE to go to AEW, because I mean, I'm not gonna exalt Tony of signing Jeff, because the red flags were there, but I do wonder what Matt was saying, what Jeff was saying, and how it was like pitched to Tony on what that whole WWE situation was like. If he was like just straight up duped into thinking that Jeff was perfectly fine, he doesn't have an issue. I know you probably shouldn't listen to the Attic when they say they don't have an issue, but I think this is just maybe like a blind spot of Tony, who was like a teenager during that time. So he probably has a really big soft spot for the Hardys. He wanted to do this Young Bucks Hardys feud. So he probably just, looked past all that to sign probably one of his favorite tag teams and have this opportunity for this dream match. And now look where we're at.
It is a shame. It is a shame. And now some other news that broke today. Brandon put this on the script. I didn't want to put it on there because I wanted to hear everything. I wanted to let the story breathe. But Brandon, Mr. Atticus, go on.
So breaking news that happened just a few hours ago. Just a bombshell dropped by the Wall Street Journal. They are reporting that the WWE board is investigating a reported settlement that Vince McMahon had with a woman that worked on the legal team as a paralegal last year. And it's alleged that he paid her off $3 million, $1 million up front and $2 million over the next 5 years, whatever. There's some sort of, allegations of harassment or whatever, but this is a really like a ginormous, I know that's not even really a word, but just a huge story that's developing right now with Vince and just all the different dominoes. I mean, I'm not going to just speculate and, just go after everything. Yeah, Phillip doesn't want to go after Vince too hard, but this has been in the works, I believe, since like April. Stephanie stepped down a couple weeks ago. Who knows if I would assume she knew about this. And I think, she probably was like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. So I'm just going to step away, yada, yada, yada. We're not going to talk about the personal aspects of things, but the power dynamic of the head of the company with a person lower on the totem pole, whether it is consensual or not, is something that should not be happening in the business, in the business environment. And then also John Laurinaitis is also involved in this, and he has his own, little checkered history going back to his first time with WWE, kind of with the women. And I would assume John Laurinaitis is gone. He's not going to be in his position for much longer. And Vince, I find it very hard that Vince is going to be ousted in terms of, just completely gone from the company. But I would not be shocked if he steps down, if he loses a little bit of power. This is probably the biggest shot to his power in the company since the steroid trial, which I know this, sexual activity and, allegations of assault or whatever is very serious, but the steroid stuff is like federal and that's a bigger deal. But this is also, we've seen like the dominoes fall with the McMahons and just, Shane's gone. Triple H really doesn't have that much power. Stephanie stepped away. And now this thing with Vince, it's just one thing after another. And now, assumingly, Nick Khan is just going to stand there and he's going to have more power, whatever. And I think the next step, which has been speculated since Nick Khan has come on board, that this is going to lead to some sort of, sell of the company to some big conglomerate like Disney, Fox, NBC, whatever.
We can't sell the company. We can't do that. It won't be the same. People are complaining about it now. Could you really imagine some Disney writer writing storylines for wrestling? Like what?
I mean, that's not exactly what it would be.
Well,
Disney would own it. Disney would own it, but they would have their own team in place who would handle the actual wrestling aspect of things. Like, let's say Triple H. Let's just say Triple H is a part of it. Triple H does run. Not like isn't the head booker, but he's whatever. He's a part of it. Paul
like Pat Patterson was to Vince back in the day.
Paul Heyman's a part of it. The infrastructure currently in the wrestling sphere would still stand in place while the board, the higher ups, whatever, would handle more the business aspect of things. And I'm not a business person. I just play one on the podcast. But this is a big developing story in WWE.
The Public Enemies posted regarding this. Shout out to the Public Enemies. They said, but they had the nerve to call Sasha and Naomi unprofessional. Yeah.
And on that, I didn't want to really bring this up, but I did see something on Twitter that someone from like WrestleLink is reporting that Sasha.
Raj, the owner, Baby Huey sent this to me. I'm hearing Sasha Banks has been released. I don't know if it's her request, she requested it, or if it was on WWE's end. Yeah.
And then I'm just looking, your boy, Baby Huey's best friend, Sean Ross Sapp, is kind of responding to this, saying that he hasn't really heard anything. So I mean, that's why I didn't really want to bring it up, because it just seems like it's so new. I mean, it literally happened like 20 minutes ago. So we're not going to speculate that she's gone, but I mean, just another, I mean,
but if she is, we were the first to break the news.
Exactly. You heard it here first, folks. But yeah, like the Laurinaitis thing, as I said, it's not shocking, because even back to like the Divas era, there's been like talks of him, like, going through, bikini magazines or whatever, and just like picking those women out as, next WWE superstar divas.
So how recently was this alleged affair?
Allegedly, it happened a year ago. So this is very.
He cheated on Mama Bella. Wow, Johnny, CM Punk was right about you. Jesus.
I don't want to talk about the personal aspect. I don't know if they have some sort of open relationship, some sort of agreement, but it's not a good look.
This is not a good look. Speaking about other people leaving WWE, this is alleged. Paige, she's going to be leaving WWE her last contracted day. Excuse me, her contract is up on July 7th. So we're coming up less than a month. She said it was WWE's choice to not re-sign her, and Paige hasn't been doing anything. Look, man, if she can get cleared, I'm tired of them signing everybody, but she legit can beef up their women's division. And I heard Peter Rosenberg say this on Cheap Heat this week. Even if she can't physically compete, she can manage somebody. Could you imagine Paige managing the House of Black? What? I'm not saying they need a manager, but that would be very intriguing.
Yeah, I mean, Paige leaving, not shocking because she hasn't done anything with the company for a long time. And even in the post, she
hasn't wrestled since like 2018, bro. Like, it's been years.
She kept the door open that she can wrestle. And we've had, Dana Bryan, Edge, of other people, Lita, like, similar, a woman with some neck injuries, able to come back and have some matches. So
Nikki Bella.
Nikki Bella. And I don't know, once again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know exactly what the extent of her injuries are and what could come back, but we have history of people doing this. And as you said, like, she's a huge star. She's young. I mean, she's still like in her like late 20s.
She really is young. My grandma's a nurse. Should I ask her?
Well, I mean, I don't know exactly what's wrong with her neck, but
yeah, it's something like kind of like similar to Lita just broke her neck. There was like some nerve damage or something, man.
And if she does come back, or she does go to AEW, seems logical. Even Impact, or that's kind of like the two options, unless she's going to go to wrestle in Japan or do something
MLW. That's an option. They're bringing women in. They got Scarlett Bordeaux making her return. They're starting to do women's matches again. That'd be cool. She might really fit in there.
I would love to see what Paige could do, because she hasn't wrestled since 18, but she hasn't really had like an evolution of her character, like since she like debuted in 15, 14. So she's, seeing her in a different environment, playing a different type of character. She's able to wrestle, which she's always been like a good wrestler. She was never I don't think she ever really was able to showcase who she actually could be, because she was injured and she wasn't like a part of that renaissance with the Four Horsewomen, really.
Yeah, because like when did she get hurt the first time?
Because let's see, she debuted in 14, and I think she kind of injured.
She was around in 15. She got hurt like 16 or late 15.
So then, like, once the Four Horsewomen get involved, she was in the submission sorority, and then they, then they kind of
Team PCB, bro.
Then they kind of disbanded, and she gets hurt. She comes back, and then she had that house show where Sasha kind of kicked her in the back, and then that just kind of re-aggravated.
Back like late 2017, early 2018, and then they do the absolution gimmick, and then the house show with Sasha when she gets hurt, and then she missed all these moments, because I remember maybe she got hurt in 17, because I know she wasn't cleared in time for the Rumble, the first women's Rumble. Yeah, she came back in 17, and Absolution was around for like maybe a month and a half or two.
So I'm checking.
Checking
The old Wikipedia. So
confirmed.
So it looks like she got hurt in 2016.
Oh, Jesus. The first time or the second time?
First time.
Okay. 2016. Okay.
She got returned.
Oh, yeah, because she was in that WrestleMania, that multi-woman WrestleMania match. All right.
And then she came back in like 2017.
Yes, and then she get hurt.
And she suffered an impact to her neck, yada, yada, yada. And during the WrestleMania, she made a cameo, blah, 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 blah. And she hasn't, so she hasn't wrestled since 2018, because she retired officially in April of 2018.
That's right. That's right. She did retire. I forgot about that. Jesus. Oh my God. It is what it is. Hopefully she can get better.
She will turn 30 this year in August.
Jesus Christ. She's so young, man. Come on, man. Hopefully she'll be able to do something. Man. Let's see. I want to see her versus Masha Slamovich. Maybe she tours the indies, bro. Maybe she takes a completely different route.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what her family's doing, but I know they have that company out in the UK. She can do some things
the UK
out there.
seemed pretty much dead.
Well, yeah, whole speaking out thing kind of.
2020 was a wild time. But that's enough of the Paige talk. Zack Sabre Jr., who has appeared on the show via voice intro.
My favorite voice intro.
ZSJ calls out Bryan Danielson. Yo, if that happens at Forbidden Door, I'll say nice things.
Very, very excited for this. Bryan dealing with like a concussion or something outside of a Double or Nothing match. He wasn't on Dynamite today. No real talk about Zack Sabre Jr. at all. So maybe he's back next week or whatever. And coming off a concussion, I think this match is absolutely perfect for Bryan if he's able to get cleared and wrestle in this match, because he can, wrestle around, grapple with Zack for 10, 15 minutes, doesn't really have to take any bumps, just, get stretch Zack, get in, get out, have a really fun match. Crowd can chant all the BS chants they want and go home happy and not hurt.
Since you mentioned it, I'm gonna play it. Let's see. Here it is.
Hello, this is the one and only son of Zack Sabre, the historic and legendary British wrestler. You are listening to the Bullet Cast, and I hope you enjoy the words that they will say on this podcast, and you can have lots of fun about wrestling. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
You heard it okay?
I heard it great.
This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you are listening to the Bullet Cast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Who else do I have? Let's see who else I have. Let's just go through them all, man. Is that okay? It's the 280th episode.
We're just reminiscing on all the intros we should put in.
This is X-Pac, and you're listening to the Bullet Cast.
I remember that he was like kind of not offended, but he kind of was like,
he did look at me like,
what the hell do you want me to do?
Because he asked me like, do I know you? Haven't met you before? I'm like, no. And then so we take the picture, and he's like, I'm like, hey, can you do a voiceover for my show real quick? He's like, what? Yeah, sure. Like, he said it so quick, I almost didn't get it. I love X-Pac though. And then we got.
What up? This is Real American, We the People, Jack Swagger, and you're listening to the Bullet Cast. No, I'm not in the Bullet Club.
And then
hilarious.
I'll play this one anyway.
This is New Japan Pro Wrestling's Big Mike Michael Hogan, and you're listening to the Bullet Cast.
Canceled.
Yeah. I have a Abyss interview in here that did not go fantastic.
I mean, the interview was fantastic. Just the intro to that interview didn't go so well.
No, the interview was not good. The mic was terrible.
I mean, we did have some technical issues, and then I think.
Sorry, so let me tell you guys a story.
I think I realized what happened, but we're not going to talk about that.
You realized no, we're going to talk about this. It's story time with the Mike Messiah, baby. So we interview Abyss at a place that shall not be named, and great interview. It was nice. It was like 7 minutes. I was happy. That's a big name. I love Abyss. Super nice guy. He's a sweetheart. And so we're using Brandon's equipment, and he didn't realize that the mic wasn't on. He realized that like when I was wrapping up the interview, and I listened to it, and it sounded god awful. I did whatever I could because there's this heck of noise back there. Like I'm like what 5 feet away from the mic, or yeah. I'm like, because we did it. How do we do it? We did a video too, right?
I believe so, and I'm pretty sure it was like the phone or whatever was actually what the audio was coming from.
Yeah, but I was recording it on my phone, and so like it's like a loud backstage of the place, and you can't hear it. It was terrible. I need to interview Abyss so we can avenge that.
And turn the microphone on.
Oh, we have great equipment now.
Yeah, we've evolved since then, because it wasn't even like an actual microphone. Wasn't it just like a little?
It was like a little like plug-in lavalier mic.
Yeah,
and then they had like an on and off button. Yeah,
and I did not realize I had an on and off button until, as you said, almost when the interview was over.
Man.
That was on me.
Yeah,
that's why I stick to the camera work, not the audio work.
Yes, well, we got some big things are coming to the show. We're looking to have some guests on this on October 9th. I got something planned for y'all. Y'all gonna want to follow our socials for that. What WWE's next in line, class? Why don't you read them off? Do you have it?
No. Why would I have it?
Because you've had the script for a few days. Could have been like, Phil's gonna ask me about this. I should have the tab ready.
Well, it doesn't have it on the script that I need to pull it up.
Well, you know I throw these things to you all the time.
Well, if you put a little in quotation marks, then yeah, sure, fine.
I'm sorry.
Okay, here we go. We got it. I think I got it. Well, I hope I got it. Okay, here we go. So I'm just gonna go in on the photo. Maybe I shouldn't have done the photo because I can barely see. Are we going to do what? Okay, we go. People, this is great audio right now. And once again, they don't have the thing. So we're just gonna zoom in on these photos and we're gonna see what we can see. So first, we have like a cheerleader. We have a lot of football players. We got a volleyball player. We got a wrestler and a gymnast. Got a lot of people. We got Ali Matox, cheerleader. It looks like at Ole Miss. Case
Miss, the home of Michael Orr. Yes,
I mean she's wearing blue and red, and she has an M on her chest. So I'm gonna just say it's Ole Miss.
I almost went to Ole Miss.
Shout out. Let's see. We got Case Hatch. It looks like from Central Michigan or Minnesota. Can't tell. Footballer. Chandler Hayden. Is that Tennessee? I believe so. We got, let's see, Colton Schultz, a wrestler.
Oh, we're at.
Oh, of course, you asked me. Arizona State.
Oh, okay. Arizona. All right. Okay, I see him.
We got
it's nice.
Darian Goborn. Definitely said that right. From Auburn. She's a gymnast. I know she's been taking the internet by storm. The internet kind of likes her. Erica Link. She's a volleyballer from Elon, wherever the hell that is. Keyshawn Moore, a footballer from Hampton University. We get Luke Ford, footballer out of Illinois. Malik Carr, footballer, Michigan State. Michaela Hall, Central Michigan, basketball player. We got track and field star Rachel Glenn out of South Carolina. Ruben Banks from Arkansas. He's a track and field star as well. Thunder Keck from Stanford. He's a football. That's a hell of a name. It's going to be a shame that they're going to change that. Thunder Keck from Stanford.
Thunder Keck with the Thunder Kick.
Tiana Omazik.
They have signed so many young African-American talent fresh out of college. This is going to be fantastic.
Well, this is a white woman. This is a white volleyball player from Miami, from the U.
I'm just from. Oh, wait. From the U?
From the U.
I had an offer from the U.
Damn.
I had an offer from the U.
And then finally, a lovely African-American wrestler from. Okay, I cannot tell where that's what it's Zachary Knighton Ward.
Look him up. See where he wrestles at. I'm interested.
Oh,
I'm interested, man.
Zachary Knighton Ward.
Where's he wrestling out of?
From Hofstra University.
Where is that at?
Oh, that is why I did not want to look it up.
Hofstra. Now we got to find out where Hofstra is. Where is that?
Go Hofstra, part of the Colonial Athletic Association.
Where's Hofstra?
And we're just going down. We got these. Hofstra University is from Nassau County, New York.
Okay, all right, New Yorker. All right. Let's see. We're gonna move on from that now. MJF to Hollywood. This has been reported that he has an agent. He's done some voiceover work. This isn't an actual story. I don't know why people are reporting about it. Yeah.
Then why are we talking about it?
Because to let you people know that this isn't a story. Did you hear about something like it might have been your torch, bro? That some news site actually reported that MJF was somewhere buying toilet paper and they were talking about what like grade of toilet paper he was using. I'm like, why is this a story? You people really have nothing better to do.
Well, first off, Philip, you just can't be throwing out accusations that the torch talking about that type of stuff.
All right. Well, let's find out who talked about it. Then look it up.
I have no idea. What am I going to type up? MJF toilet paper?
MJF toilet paper story. Yeah. Look, you see, even my grandma's laughing at it. Look it up. Who did this? Who did it?
I have no idea.
Doesn't it say?
Oh, what should I look it up on Twitter? Because I'm Googling it. Nothing's coming up.
Let me see.
MJF toilet.
Yeah. Just MJF toilet paper. MJF.
Now we're looking on Twitter. Let's see. We have a tweet from MJF in 2019 about him getting angry at people throwing toilet paper in the ring.
Let's see.
This is literally all I can find. Is just people throwing toilet paper in the ring and MJF on indie shows.
No, it's not. Where did they find it? I heard about the story. I saw some of it. I don't know where it's from though. Anyway, that's something. The WWE A&E docs are going to be out July 10th. They're doing a Lex Luger one, which I heard is pretty good, and they do a Rivals one about The Rock and Steve Austin. And guess what? You know, at the end of 19, where they're talking to each other and Rock swats away Earl Hebner. They say what they said.
Oh,
they say what they said. I've been waiting for this. I want to know what they said, and we're gonna find out.
I know Stone Cold did a watch along back when he did his podcast, and I think he straight up said, like, yeah, that's between me and him, and I'm not going to talk about what he said. I remember what he said. I'm not going to say what he said.
But they talk about it here. I can't wait. I can't wait to find out what they said. Oh my God.
They were just talking about dinner.
Yep. Get some steaks. All right, inside of the ring, a lot of titles have changed hands. Gunther wins the Intercontinental Championship. Jay White wins the IWGP Heavyweight title, and Will Ospreay wins the IWGP United States Championship. Jay White's gotten a lot of buzz. He was on Dynamite tonight. We're not going to talk about that because we're doing tiers, but he's getting a lot of buzz. Bullet Club getting some steam again, eh?
What it's looking like. Jay White, I think, is just absolutely phenomenal talent, and he works well in Japan, in the U.S. I would love for him to work more with AEW because
he's not even 30 years old.
I know. I mean, if you go back to, when I was watching New Japan, he just came in as a Switchblade and he did not look very comfortable in that getup. But just looking at his transformation from however long ago that was, 5-6 years ago to now, it's just amazing what that man can do. And they're teasing like the Hangman Jay White match, but then Jay White says, "Yeah, I'm not doing that," and he's saying somebody else. He says he's going to pick someone else. I don't know if that's a red herring or if they're still going to do Hangman, but I'm intrigued.
They need to do Hangman. I remember the Cow Palace show and just the amount of heat Jay White was getting. It was just like real old school heat, and the pop that he got the pop that CJ Parker got, or Juice Robinson when he beat him. I'm just like, this is old school, brother, and this is fantastic. Jay White won me over that night, man. I'm a fan of the Switchblade. I breathe with the Switchblade, man. If they're taking new members, I'm available. Wouldn't it be cool, the leader of the Bullet Cast to join the Bullet Club? Wouldn't that be fantastic?
The collab everyone's been waiting for, but never thought would happen.
That's what I'm saying.
Speaking of Juice Robinson, he was the U.S. champion, but had to relinquish it was stripped of it for an unknown reason. It seems as though he might have had an appendicitis or something, but not exactly clear what's going on. They're kind of kayfabing us there. But as you said, Will Ospreay wins the U.S. title. Juice still has the title, so Will doesn't have the physical title. Yeah, good for him. They set up, I know we're not going to talk about it, but Will Ospreay and Orange Cassidy for Forbidden Door. So I know I got everyone's hopes up by asking for Rey Fénix, but this just seems like one of those matches. I mean, I'm a little scared about what the Forbidden Door card is going to look like, because this does seem like one of those obvious matches that, Will Ospreay is going to beat Orange Cassidy. That just makes so much sense. And we're going to get a lot of kind of one-sided matchups to where it's obvious one side's going to win, and we're going to do the 50-50. New Japan wins half, AEW wins half.
Or they could do this Survivor Series 2019 where NXT ran the gauntlet and they won it. They won a lot. I don't know. We'll see.
So Orange Cassidy beats Will Ospreay, because we all know Jon Moxley's winning that title.
Yep. Christian turned on Jungle Boy tonight, finally.
I got scared because I got it spoiled that he was getting stretchered off and he was injured, but I think that was just a selling of the concerto.
Oh, I didn't see a concerto. I just saw a kill switch. Thanks a lot.
Watch the product.
I'm not a conspiracist. That's what I call AEW fans now. Come on, that deserves at least a chuckle.
Well, that's okay. I'm not a fan. I'm an unbiased podcaster.
Okay, there you go. Let's wrap it up with the fan mail. Back to Embrace Day X. I don't know if this has been said before, but is Seth Rollins this generation Shawn Michaels? I've said that. I've said that at times, especially on that 2015 run. He was fantastic. But I think I'm gonna throw AJ Styles in that realm. I mean, that's why Undertaker wanted to wrestle him, because he was the closest to Shawn.
I would probably put AJ more closer to Shawn. Seth he's a phenomenal wrestler. He has been so, useful both on the heel and face side, but he hasn't really ever clicked as a babyface like as much as Shawn did. I mean, kind of on his first run, but definitely more in his second run, which maybe that we have to wait for time for Seth to, be an aging veteran.
Look. Oh no, go ahead.
I mean, that was pretty much it. Is like Seth. I mean, Shawn was very good at playing both sides. Had a long career. Had so many great matches. Yes, Seth has had like good matches, but I think AJ's resume stacks up more favorably to Shawn than Seth's.
Of course. If Seth had come back as a babyface from the injury back in 2016, yeah, he would have had that great babyface run. He like coming back like Triple H when he tore the quad, or Cody after this pec stuff, which he had successful surgery. Shout out, and we'll see him by the Rumble hopefully. But yeah, he should have came back like just massive babyface pop, man. That would have been fantastic. I mean, he got a nice reaction, but then he was still a heel.
He came back, got a mega pop at whatever the pay-per-view was.
Extreme Rules 2016.
And then they kept him heel for whatever reason when he was like such a baby face, especially like on his recovery. He was like, they did like the rebuild,
redesign, rebuild, reclaim.
Yeah, I have the t-shirt and it was like, okay, this is a baby face. He's going to come back. It's such an easy story. The guy comes back.
That 24 was awesome.
And bam. But nope, it just didn't happen.
He tore his ACL, MCL, and meniscus. It's crazy. He also says, do you think the dream match of Zack Sabre Jr. and Bryan Danielson at Forbidden Door will happen if Danielson can be cleared by the pay-per-view? Hopefully, man. I forgot that he's out. But that would be tight. We talked about that. Let's get into it. Bullet Tears. Oh, excuse me. Jesus. Are you ready?
So ready. It has been in the works for a while. It's been a point of contention. There's some controversy in these tiers. I know this has been a love child of Phillip because this is a Peter Rosenberg special. I know I had my questions about it, but here we are. Phillip, explain what we are doing.
So shout out Cheapy. Back in March, they did the Tiers of Mage, and they did it differently than we're doing it here. I took this version of doing it from a fan who had written into Cheap Heat. But I think the way they did it, I don't know how many wrestlers they picked, but you were ranking them 1 to 5. The way I had people do it, rank them 1 to 10. You could have 30 wrestlers or 30 spot. You have 30 spots. You throw singles people on there. You can throw some tag teams on there if you want, and you could throw factions on there, but no more than 3 people inside a faction. Obviously, like Freebirds or New Day, Shield, etc. So, with that being said, there are 5 tiers. So, if you got a 70 or higher to 63, that's tier 1. 62 to 49 is tier 2. Tier 3, 48 to 35. Tier 4 is 34 to 21. And tier 5, which is the lowest tier, is 20 to 7. And there were a lot of people that got below 7 that just aren't on this tier, aren't on this list at all. So,
yeah, and this sounds very complicated, but I think once we kind of break it down into the tiers, because like once we break it down into the tiers, it's not exactly like it's not that many people. Like once we get to the very, very end, there's going to be a bunch of people that we might probably not even going to talk about. But for me personally, I did the list. I kind of did it. I did do 1 through 10, but I really just did like 1 through 5 in terms of 6 through 10. And I think the hardest thing with me was that there was no real rules in terms of who we were doing. So in my eyes, I'm saying in my eyes, I have to take the entire history of wrestling. Like if we just did like WWE or North American or people since WrestleMania 1, like that would be so much easier than just like an open-ended, just make a list.
I told people 30 of your personal favorites.
I was told that this was supposed to be a GOAT list.
Yes, but then I said 30 of your personal favorites. I told that to everyone.
But I took it as we're doing greatest of all time. And so, I mean, we'll break it down and we'll explain how I feel about each one of these people. So, Phillip, I know you pretty much just did it. Obviously, you did it the way it was supposed to be done because this was your idea. But did you have any issues with how grand of a scope it was, or did you pretty much have the 30 people in mind you wanted to do?
I was real. Like, I'll go to my list right now. I think that'd be best if we do that. Like, I'll go to my list right now, and I wasn't I wasn't like, oh, I really like him, so I'm gonna give him an extra point. Like, I was fair. I gave people what I thought they deserved. Like, so like I gave who's on here. Let me see. I gave Macho Man a 7. Like, great talent. He was very popular, but even though he was like in fame wise a step below Hogan, I mean, he because you look at like kind of the end of the WCW run, and that kind of knocks him down a couple pegs. You can't just look at the glory; you have to look at the whole wrestling run, and of course the TNA stuff. So that's why I gave him a 7. You know what I mean? It's kind of stuff like that.
So my list, I kind of went off of like the greatest of all time list, and so I'm supposed to be like the hipster historian.
He got too cute with it,
and so I mean I did get very cute with it, and I could have gone even more cute by going like Mexican wrestlers, but I kind of stayed in my lane.
No Mil Masters.
That's what I'm saying.
No Alberto Del Rio.
I don't know if he's making a list even if I talked about Mexican wrestlers.
Jesus.
But I kind of stuck it to North American / Japanese wrestlers. And we'll probably get to my hipster picks at the very bottom because I was the only person who voted for them. But there is one that really stands out to me. And I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about him now or once we get to the very end of the list, because it is in my opinion, a glaring omission. I know he is a very controversial figure.
Oh, I know.
But
we'll wait till we get there.
Okay, we'll wait till we get there because once we get there, let me just say this. I gave this person a 10. He ended up finishing with an 11.
Yes.
So only one other person gave him a single vote.
Yes. So a couple people dropped out and a couple people just didn't give me their list, which that didn't really.
Like who?
I'm not gonna name.
I mean, definitely no one on this podcast.
Oh yeah, definitely no one on this. No, definitely not the champion of this show. Yeah. But yeah, which he still isn't here. That man he really think he Roman. He got the title and dipped. He think he's somebody.
Sign him to a new contract, give him the championship, and then next thing you know, he's just not.
I hope you all know the new contracts come with a 90-day no record. Like once you leave the show, you can't record another podcast for 90 days. Y'all know that, right? You don't know that, right?
I'm still waiting for my first contract to come in.
Oh, what you mean? You signed it in your own blood. What do you mean?
Oh yes, I remember. My own. Well, I don't know if it was my own blood. It was someone's blood.
When we renew your contract, you can only record somebody else's podcast like 10 times a year.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just got out of a sticky contract situation. I'm not trying to get
with the curveballs to Georgia.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that contract.
We'll talk about that between us off air.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. It's tier time. So the only one person made tier 1. He got over the 70 mark. He got 76 votes. Stone Cold Steve Austin, according to this group of people, is apparently the greatest of all time. Which he was the true needle mover during the highest point in the business's history. But his run was really 3 years, bro. I mean, he was still a top guy, like after the hotness of his run, but like it was only 3 years.
As the Stone Cold guy, obviously,
I'm a Stone Cold guy too.
Obviously, but I am the Stone Cold guy on the podcast. I gave him a 10, but he wasn't the only person I gave a 10. I gave a bunch of people 10s. Let's see.
I gave him a 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I gave 7 people a 10. A lot of them are Japanese people that I already knew weren't going to make this list, so I just kind of boosted them up. But legitimately, the 3 people that I thought should be 10s and other people would vote them as 10s was Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair. I think you can guess who the Mr. 11 is, but I look at wrestling as like a business, which it is. And, those 3 were fantastic at the role. They drew a lot of business and they, Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, like legitimately like saved the WWF. And if Stone Cold wasn't at where he was, who knows what the business and what WWE and especially like WCW, what it would be like. And I get it why he's the only person on this list, because I think there's some other people, like, as I said, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, then like that next step down, I think there is a lot of debate on who really is the best and how you like perceive wrestling greatness. But for me, I always look at like the business end of things, and the performance aspect is just a cherry on top. And Stone Cold is one of, if not the greatest character in wrestling history, just so overselling, so much merch,
Absolutely.
so many big moments, so many big pops. He has, good matches as well along the way.
Yes.
So I think that's why it's no shock to me that he's number 10, but I think it is a shock that he's alone.
He's alone. I thought there would be more people in tier 1, because you listen to Cheap Heat, you heard they had like at least like 6 people in tier 1. You listened to that episode.
I did. Stone Cold, I think, was the undisputed like top person.
Yeah, but like Rock was like right after, or something like that.
Which we will get into the Rock. He is here. He's not on the list. He's not on tier 1.
He's not on tier 1. Is he on? He's not even on. Where's he at? Where's the Rock at on this tiers list? Oh, okay. He's a little ways down. All right, so let's get into it. Tier 2 was 62 to 49. Coming in at the top of tier 2 was John Cena with 60 points. I personally think John Cena is the greatest babyface of all time. I'm going obviously off the run, but then I'm going off the Make-A-Wish stuff alone. And he just granted another Make-A-Wish, which, come on, man. How is this man not the greatest babyface of all time? This man flew to where was this? You saw that story about the family that had to like leave Ukraine, and the son would only leave because the parents said that they were looking for John Cena.
And John Cena.
He went to Amsterdam. That's right. He went to Amsterdam.
Fulfilled that promise.
Yeah, you see, come on, man. This dude's the greatest babyface of all time. So he has 60 points. Coming in behind him with 59 is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and then Shawn Michaels has 54, and Eddie Guerrero has 54. I'm glad Eddie made it this high because Eddie was fantastic. We're coming up on 16 years of him being gone, I think, or 16 or 17, something like that. It's crazy.
Eddie was fantastic, and he is, someone who just clicked with the audience, and everyone loved Eddie. But I don't agree with him being this high. Like I know you said it's like favorites, but off of my parameters and kind of off of Cheap Heat's parameters, which was like the greatest, Eddie doesn't belong here at number 2 in the second tier.
Yeah, I think I know they were like, who you think is the best for business, and I went more of the favorites route. So if we were to do this again, then we go just strictly like truly best for business, maybe we'd see different numbers. Actually, we see completely different numbers.
Because I completely left Eddie off the list. I love Eddie, but I left him off the list. John Cena, Ric Flair, and Shawn. I gave Rick a 10, and I gave Shawn and Cena both 9s.
Yeah, you gave Shawn a 9. Almost had a heart attack.
No, I gave Cena an 8. Now, Cena, I know he's had this long 20-year run, and he's been the top guy for so long. But if you look at WWE, he's such a polarizing figure. He's the guy after the boom, and whether you want to blame it on him or not, business has gone down ever since John Cena has been on top. So I do nick him a little bit from that. And I know people love Cena, but when I look at it, it's like, okay, who carried the business, who took it to new heights? And Cena like never really took it to new heights. Like, yes, he had the thing with The Rock, but it was with The Rock. You could put more, credit to The Rock doing that than Cena, and him with his run the last 20 years.
Bro, you have to give Cena really a 10 because of the selflessness. He hasn't main evented WrestleMania since 2013. He went on to have matches with Bray Wyatt and Rusev, the U.S. Open Challenge, making NXT guys look fantastic on primetime television, going out there and doing the honors for Kevin Owens and AJ Styles and The Miz at 27. The selflessness. You just heard the Brodus Clay story. John Cena faked a bathroom break just so Brodus can perform at WrestleMania 28. Come on, bro. You got to take things like that into consideration. You talk about I mean, because you say you're all about the business. John Cena, all about the business. He always did what was right for the company, what was right for business.
But
So
as
with
I said,
that,
ever since he's been the top guy, business has gone down.
it was a different era.
I mean, business is still business.
This is still business. I mean, no, he still sold the house. Like the gate was still nice. Don't get it twisted. The gate was still nice.
And we've gone into the era. I know he's the top guy, but
Well,
we've
not
also
anymore.
got. Well, I know, but we've gone into the era to where people don't go to WWE shows to see X. They go to WWE to see WWE.
I go to WWE shows to see acts. What do you mean?
Well, you're one of the few, Philip.
The kids don't go to see a specific wrestler. Come on, bro. If I were to ask a couple kids at like, I'll go to the house show in Sac. I'll be like, so who are you here to see? And they'll say specific wrestlers, and
yeah, it'll be like a couple wrestlers. It's not like, oh my god, I need to see this one person, and this person's.
I mean, honestly, I was going for Cody.
Cody ain't gonna be there no more. So going down, we have Ric Flair at a 59. I put him as a 10. I think Ric Flair is the greatest.
He's the greatest wrestler of all time. We can say
the greatest wrestler of all time. I put Stone Cold as like the greatest act of all time.
And Shawn Michaels the greatest in-ring performer of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I gave Shawn a 9. So I mean, in my terms, Ric Flair, Cena, Flair, and Shawn, they kind of deserve to be here. Eddie, as I said, as much as I love him, I don't think he deserves to be here. But Flair, I will say, if we're gonna nick Hulk Hogan for his personal things, I mean, Ric Flair doesn't exactly have the best history either. And as much as I love Stone Cold, I mean, if we're gonna get down to it, Stone Cold has his fair share of like controversies and things as well.
Yes.
So that's why I'm not going to sit here and, say, oh, I'm the only person to sit here to vote for Hulk Hogan when there's other people on this list that have a checkered history. Now, I'm not defending Hulk Hogan and what he said, but if we're just strictly looking at the work, I'm trying to separate the art from the artist. And it wasn't like Hulk Hogan did this in 1989 or 1985.
Well, you can't separate the art from the artist because apparently Hulk Hogan said those things and Terry Bollea did not.
And well, it's also a thing of like he's so old when he said it. He was the white meat baby face all those times, and however many kids and African Americans that he met, and who knows what his actual thoughts were, and all these different things. But I mean, we'll talk about when we get to the very bottom of the list.
Absolutely, we're coming up on tier 3, 30 or 48 to 35. So tier 3, we have The Undertaker 44, Bryan Danielson with 43, Bret Hart with 43, Rock with 42, Randy Orton with 39, CM Punk 37, Trish Stratus and New Day also have 37, and that's the end of tier 3. Now, I mean, I think that mostly makes sense. Undertaker, he had big moments, he had top guy moments, but he was never just the top guy. He was the act that you could go to deliver a main event and hold the championship for a nice period of time until somebody else was ready for it. Looking at it, Bryan Danielson, I think tier 3 is right. I think Cheap Heat had him tier 4. I think, Cheap Heat had him and Punk tier 4. So that's nice. Rock tier 3, I mean, that might be right. I don't know. What are your thoughts on tier 3? While I go step away.
Tier 3, once again, like I'm kind of in lockstep with a lot of these people. Undertaker, Rock, Punk, and Danielson, I all had it at 8. So if we go like, 10, 9, 8, I have them at tier 3 as well. Orton, I did not rank Orton whatsoever. Now, I know it's kind of a running bit that I don't like Orton, but when it comes down to it, I had 30 people to choose from, and Randy was never the top guy. He was always, feuding with the top guys like Cena and Batista and Triple H and whatever, but he was never the guy. And so, I knocked him down for that. And so and his in-ring work and his collection of stuff, like, he's had his moments, but over the long career he's had, I just think he kind of didn't stack up when it comes to like the other 29 people I had. Brett, on the other hand, I gave Brett a 7. I'm a little bit more down on Brett than I think most people are, but I mean, I'm not going to disrespect the man and say like he doesn't deserve to be on this list. I mean, I gave him a 7. He's respected. He's a really good wrestler. He had his moment as the top guy for WWE. Didn't exactly pan out all that well, so that's why I kind of knocked him down and gave him a 7. Punk and Danielson, I mean, they're two of my personal favorites. So if we were to redo this list and I were to do like my personal favorites, it would be Stone Cold, Punk, and Bryan at the top. But the way I did it, I gave both of those guys 8s. And I think over the last 15 years, they are two of the most influential wrestlers, best wrestlers of the past 15 years. I mean, Punk and Bryan, what they did on the indie scene. I know a lot of people were probably just taking more into account what they did in WWE, but I took more into account what they did in ROH, in WWE, a little bit of what they've done in AEW. So yeah. I would like to know, what the people that also voted for them thinking about it, because I would assume they win more with just their WWE career, but I think people overlook how great they were on the indie scene as well.
The stuff that Punk was doing, I think it was IWA with Chris Hero, and they had that match where they literally tore the building apart because the building was going to be demolished. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I didn't hear what you said. Did you speak about Orton, Trish, and New Day?
I did not speak about Trish and New Day. I did not rank New Day whatsoever. I didn't do any tag teams, any factions. So that's the main reason why they weren't on the list. Even if I were to do it, I mean, 30 people, it's going to be hard for New Day to crack the list. I did put Trish down all the way at 6. I believe, I think her and Mildred Burke, so once again, hipster list, were the only 2 women I did put on my list. I will say Becky Lynch, for me personally, probably would have been an omission that I probably could have put on there, at least for like a personal favorite. But Trish, tier 3, top tier woman. I mean, as we're doing favorites, I see it. She's had a long career, and I said it while you're away. Randy Orton.
Bro, her career was only 6 years. That's crazy.
And as you stepped away, I was saying that Randy Orton, as much as I got a dog on him, he did have a good career, but I just didn't rank him when it came to the top 30 of all time. I know people like him. He's not my personal favorite. Bret Hart, who isn't one of my personal favorites either, but I still recognized his greatness, and I had him at a 7. And then Undertaker, Rock, I both had them at an 8. So tiers wise, that did match up with me.
All right, tier 4, 34 to 21. We have Chris Jericho with 34, Edge with 31, which is ironic because that's the number of championships Edge won in WWE. Dusty, that's the rules, baby, got 31. So does Kurt Angle. Mick Foley, 30. Rey Mysterio, 20. Randy Savage, 29. Dudley Boyz, 27. AJ Styles, 26. Christian and Sasha Banks have 25. 24 belongs to Triple H and Booker T. 23 is Batista. 22 belongs to Charlotte Flair, and Sting and Ricky Steamboat ends tier 4 with 21.
A lot of people on that list. Looking over at my list, I did have Jericho on there. I gave Jericho a 6. Him, Foley, and Stratus were the only 3 that I gave 6. Is the lowest of my rankings. Now Jericho's kind of similar to like a Randy Orton or an Undertaker, even, to where they were never like the top guy, but they had such a long career, storied career, that I felt like I had to acknowledge them. Foley, similarly, hardcore god, things he did in Japan, ECW, WWF, should be on the list. Dusty Rhodes, I feel like he should be way higher. I put Dusty at a 9. Now, once again, this is probably a list of a lot of people who just watch WWE and think about him and kind of the legendary figure that he is now post WWE.
They don't go to 1977, brother.
With Cody and all the things, and so yeah, I took more into account his drawing power down in Florida, down in the NWA, and all the other things he did with Flair and the ilk down there. So I think Dusty should be higher on the list personally. Kurt Angle, unfortunately, I didn't even put him on the list. Mysterio, I did. Savage, I did. I know you talked about Savage earlier. I think I had Savage at an 8. I just think the matches he had and the career and the star power. I think Savage is carried more by the star power that he had outside of wrestling than his actual legendary wrestler. People love him. But if you were to go to non-wrestling fans, they would know who Randy Savage is. And I think that kind of carried him in my eyes to, be a bigger than life star. Kind of same thing with Rey Mysterio. One of probably the greatest like North American luchadors of all time. And the matches he's had over the span of like 30 years almost, which is crazy to think because he's been wrestling since he's like 16. So, I gave Ray some love. I think I put him at a 7. There's a lot of people else on this list. So, Phillip, some of the names that kind of stick out to you.
Well, I gave Jericho a 9. Why did I give him a 9? He was never really the top guy. He was a guy that they could go to and put the title on, kind of like Taker. But the reinvention, man, the constant reinvention. Just from literally Corazon de Leon in Mexico to the Lionheart to the Millennium Man to save us, and the Ayatollah of rock and roll, and the suit and tie Jericho, and then the going to AEW and being Le Champion and New Japan's Painmaker, and now he's a wizard, baby. Like just everything that Jericho's done in that 30 plus years has been fantastic. Edge tier 4. I think Cheap Heat had him tier 4. That's right. Dusty should have been higher. Kurt, man, he could have been tier 3 just off the in ring work, like the stuff, obviously stuff he did in WWE, but he had a longer career in TNA, and those matches are fantastic. Tier 4 for like Randy could have been higher. Ray, this is probably right. I'm surprised Christian made it this high, honestly. No, I'm a huge Christian fan, but I thought I didn't think as many people were going to vote for him as they did.
Yeah, sitting here, Christian has a higher total than Sasha Banks, Triple H, Batista, Sting, even like Charlotte Flair and Ricky Steamboat. Like I had Steamboat, I think I put him at like a 7, which once again, it's kind of more just on his in-ring career. I also had AJ Styles as a 7 as well. Just two guys who were never going to be the very top tier guys carrying a company. Like AJ had his run in TNA. Ricky had his, runs with NWA and WCW, but their careers and legacy is definitely more on like their matches that they had. And so that kind of, nicks them down for me, but just the stuff they did in ring was just so great that I think it carried. Sting, I didn't have Sting anywhere. Charlotte, Sasha, kind of the more recent women. I didn't put any of them on that list. Booker T does surprise me, like at 24. I kind of like enjoyed him back in the day. Like honestly, personally, my favorite moments is like him and Goldust. But then kind of like outside of that, like he wouldn't crack my top 30 favorites of all time, but seems like a lot of people like Booker
was
T.
Fantastic. Go check him out at Cruel Summer for West Coast Pro at the new venue. He's gonna be doing a meet and greet. Met Booker, great guy. Fantastic. Yes, sir. Tier 5, 20 to 7. Are you ready for this?
I don't know if we need to list off everybody.
Oh, no. Oh,
there are definitely some what the hell were these people thinking where pretty much all the numbers are coming from my list. This is pretty much Brandon's, honorable mentions list right here.
All right. You pick Doom?
Well,
Are you ready for this?
I think people will know the ones I picked.
Let's go. Andre the Giant, 17. Owen Hart, Brock Lesnar, Road Warriors, and Jazz have 16. The Young Bucks, Steiner Brothers, Bailey, and Lita have 15. Vader, Harley Race, Shelton Benjamin, the Usos, and Miss Jacqueline have 14. Great Muta, Kane, and Victoria have 13. Molly Holly's the only one with 12. 11, Kazuchika Okada and Hulk Hogan. 10. Oh, this is a lot of 10s. Oh, God. Mitsuharu Misawa. How do you say it? Miami Toyota, right?
Yep, I wonder who voted for them as 10s.
Yes. Doom, Luthez, Danhausen, Shotzi Blackheart, and Seth Rollins all had 10. Bruno Sammartino, Bobby Lashley, Kenta Shibata, Terry Funk, Ricky Dozand, who was a wrestler from way back in the day. Mildred
Show
Burks.
some respect for Ricky Dozand, Phillip.
No, him and Luthez, classic from 40, or 58, I think. Like Ricky Dozand, Mildred Burke, Samoa Joe, China, Mark Henry, Motor City Machine Guns, and Kendrick and London have 9. A lot of 8s. Jerry Lawler, Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, Brian Pillman, the Brainbusters, Io Shirai, Asuka, the Hardy Boys, Sabu, John Morrison, and Umaga all have 8. Coming in with 7s, which is the lowest of it all. Mickey James, Johnny B. Bad, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Mr. Perfect, Roman Reigns, Dr. Death, Steve Williams, Masato Tanaka, MVP, Terry Gordy, Sid Vicious, New Age Outlaws, Lucha Dragons, and Ken Shamrock. So there were 64 names in tier 5.
A lot of names.
Let's add up how many. While you're talking kind of over this, let me add up how many names made it to the bullet tiers.
So just gonna go from the top down for the tiers. Andre the Giant at 17. I gave him a 9. I don't know where the other 8 points came from, whether that be another person give him an 8 or, you know, a little bit of some other people giving him some lower numbers. But I mean, Andre, just larger than life figure, the greatest, I would say the greatest attraction of all time, just the way he was able to go from territory to territory and just, you know, draw so much just by showing up, doing a battle royal, winning and leaving is just unprecedented and probably something we'll never see again. And even like, you know, his time like in Japan when he was a little lighter, obviously those matches were anything to write home about, but in his younger days, the boy could move. I'll just say that. So I will say that Andre deserves more love. I will, you know, reiterating that I understand this is a favorites list, but I feel like Andre should get much more love. Brock, Owen, I mean, I didn't put them on the list, but I can see them being. I take that back. I did put Brock. I put Brock at 8. I think Brock is one of the few draws that is really in wrestling anymore, and so that's what kind of boosts him up. Like I have him in, you know, in the same tier as John Cena, Undertaker, Rock, Punk, Danielson, and I know I'm probably a bigger Brock Lesnar guy than most, but like his drawing power, like I know they've kind of squeezed every little thing out of him because he's been here for like 10 years at this point. But those early runs, as much as people want to kind of boo-boo on him because he was just kind of destroying everybody, the man did track eyeballs.
Of course. Just kind of looking at the list, man. So first of all, how many people do you think are on this in total? All the tiers. Take a guess.
Let's see. 127.
103.
I knew that's a little bit of a rare shot, but I'll take it.
Yeah. So maybe we should do some more lists. Not as complicated as this, but just straight shot. Like,
well, you know, back in the day, back in those OG Bulletcast days, we used to do lists all the time.
Top 10 lists. I mean, should we bring the top 10 back? I think next we do top 10 best big man of all time. I get with people just, hey, who are your top 10 big men of all time in order?
And if Andre the Giant is a number 1, then you just slap them and move on and go to the next person.
If somebody put Vader, I wouldn't be upset. Vader or Bam Bam, I wouldn't be mad at them. You know, I'd be like, Vader was nice. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I thought Vader should have been higher. I mean, come on, Brock, maybe bottom tier 3, just peeking over 4 possibly. Owen, I mean, tier 4 should have been higher. Road Warrior, I'm surprised there weren't a lot of tag teams on this, man. That's what breaks my heart. And I mean, you got cute with it what did you give Great Muta?
I did not rank Great Muta at all.
Okay, so that was other people. Yeah, are you surprised Young Bucks are here?
I mean, I guess a little bit. I didn't put any tag teams in there, so
yeah.
I don't know who was this 2 people? Was it like 3-4 people that voted for them?
Well, they got a 15.
They did get a 15.
So yeah, that's 2 votes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not shocked by that. I mean, I had Harley Race kind of down on my list as an 8, but yet he still, you know, came away with 14, which I mean doesn't shock me. Like I thought when I put him on this list, I would be the only person voting for him. So to see that someone gave Harley some love, and I would honestly like to know who that person was and why they voted for him. Because if you voted for Harley Race, who else did you put on that list? Because you have to have some sort of historical context to Harley Race. Because if you just look at what he did in WWF, he was like a king and just kind of like a laughing stock. So obviously, I think they're going.
King Harley was over. Hold on, bro.
Okay, but you know, obviously, it wasn't NWA Harley.
Yeah,
you know, Flair for the gold and
8-time world champion Harley Race.
Yeah, you know, it wasn't Starcade, Flair for the gold Harley Race. But
it wasn't the Harley Race that if somebody shot on him in a match, he could actually defend himself and the championship.
Back in the good old days, brother.
Wasn't the Harley Race that pulled a gun out on Hulk Hogan?
Speaking of Hulk Hogan,
yeah, he is 11.
At 11, I gave him a 10, which
somebody
means
gave him a 1, bro.
Someone out there gave him a 1. Phillip, I know. Yeah. I know it's Hulk Hogan. I know he
didn't make my list, bro.
And obviously a lot of other people's lists.
Look, man, I look, like I said, man, I understand what he did for this business, you know, the Hulkamania era from 84 to 93, going on to become probably the coolest heel ever in the NWO from 96 to 98. And then somehow after being a great heel, going back to being babyface in WWE for that last little run. I understand, but I can't get over what he said about my people, bro. I just can't.
Which I completely understand, and I get the reasoning behind it.
So yeah, he got left off.
Yeah, but he also got he got left out by a lot of people's lists, which
what's your facts?
Which kind of shows that the state of Hulk Hogan.
He ruined his legacy.
He really did.
Even with the stuff that came out about Flair, which I'm not going to say which is worse. I don't want to start up that debate or whatever. But I mean, Flair, he was still thought of enough to make it to tier 2, and the second person. He was 3 on the list overall. That's crazy, bro. Because once I got to this, the people that had a lot of the same number, I didn't put them in any specific order. So you can look at this list. I might say I even left off a lot of people who had who were on this list. Somebody voted for the Vaudevillains, dude. There were 6s and below, or that there were probably maybe 25 names that aren't on this list. 25 to 30 names.
I got to show some love to my Japanese legends that I knew I was going to be the only one that voted for them. Shout out Manami Toyota, the greatest women's wrestler of all time.
Really?
I know she mainly just did her thing in Japan
over Mae Young,
but
Mildred Burke.
Mildred Burke was a little more traveling and was more in the United States. But once again, if we're gonna go Mildred Burke and Mae Young, who was the only person who voted for Mildred Burke? Phillip.
What about oh my god? What about, was it Ethel Johnson? Yeah, what about Ethel Johnson? Pioneer. She was a black female wrestler in the 50s. And she and those other 3 black female wrestlers were the main event of that one show in that Fatal 4-Way. Come on, man. Talk about great. What about Bull Nakano?
Where's Medusa?
What about Debbie Malenko? All Japan standout. Go see her at West Coast Pro whenever she's in town, bro.
I'm the one who voted for these Japanese people. I didn't see anybody else voting for them.
It was hard, man. This isn't as easy as it sounds. It really isn't. Somebody told you get 30 spots. You have to be able to put singles, tag teams, and a couple factions on there. Could you really narrow it down to all your favorites? I'm a fan of a lot of guys, man. That aren't on here. Bobby Roode couldn't make my list. Ziggler couldn't make my list. You know what I mean?
Shout out Okada, tied with Hulk Hogan at 11. I gave Okada a 7. So someone out there probably gave him a 4 or something. I love Okada. Kenny Omega didn't make the list at all. Or did he make it?
Kenny didn't make it. Roman's on here. No, I was the only one that voted for Roman.
That is a little bit shocking. I know Roman, he's had a long career. He's in a renaissance right now, yeah. But I am shocked that, especially with some of the other people names on this list, that Roman wouldn't be at least a little bit higher, even in tier 5 or bottom of tier 4.
Yeah, on Cheap Heat, I think he was high tier 5. Because a lot of these 7s are mine. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, Mr. Perfect. I voted for all those guys, which I don't see how you don't put Mr. Perfect higher because he was great. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. You're a business guy, man. Look at what they did for the business. I'm surprised a lot of people didn't put them on. Dr. Death, Steve Williams. That wasn't me. MVP.
But if we're gonna go back to it, I'm gonna be the Hulk Hogan defender. It's a kind of chicken or an egg thing that if Hulk Hogan wasn't a part of the NWO, I don't know what the NWO success would have been like. But also, if Hulk Hogan didn't have Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, he wouldn't have had the same chemistry, same bravado, same chemistry if it was him and two other guys or whatever the combination NWO would have been.
Two other jabrones.
Yeah, if it's, him, Savage, and Brutus Beefcake. I don't know.
Zodiac. You gave Jerry Lawler the 8s. I mean, we understand how great Jerry was, especially the Andy Kaufman stuff. What are your thoughts about Benoit and Malenko? They were part of that group, the Rascals or the Radicals. I think that was the name of it. Yeah, the Radicals that came over to WWE. They got 8s, and Brian Pillman got an 8. What are your thoughts on those?
Jerry Lawler, as you said, I'm the only person who voted for him. Someone who was able to be in a territory for a long time, draw a lot of money. And I think Lawler is one of the, if we're going just greatest talkers of all time, I think Jerry Lawler's up there. I know as a commentator, creepy old man Jerry Lawler as a commentator is not. You don't still pop when he says puppies? Has not aged well and he's not very good right now. But if you go back and look at, 80, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 90s, Jerry Lawler, with ECW.
Yeah, that was about to say when he's crapping on ECW, that's fantastic. What are your thoughts about Benoit and Malenko though, and Pillman?
Benoit can absolutely just bugger off,
dude. Next week's going to be 15 years since the tragedy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why
I feel like I was just a kid watching CNN, watching that happen.
I know. I know I might sound like a hypocrite to some people by defending Hulk Hogan while just burying Benoit. What Hogan did, what he said, terrible, atrocious. He could be banned forever for all I care. What Benoit did, tragic, a billion times worse. But also, it also hurt the wrestling business. So I think in a whole, what Benoit did in ring pales in comparison to the negativity he did on that weekend.
Or did what Benoit did help the business because they started really taking CT into consideration and chair shots? I have a guy who has a conspiracy that you've heard Bill Apter that Benoit didn't kill him. Do it. There was someone who committed the murders and everything. You've heard all that. I have somebody that wants to come on the show and say that Benoit didn't kill his wife, his kid, and himself.
Well, let's not do that next week because it's going to be the anniversary.
Let's not do that. Would you be willing to have this conversation?
I mean, I guess I have looked into it a little bit, but obviously I'd have to
I have to ask you. I have to include you on the show now.
Obviously I take it what it is. It happened. The facts are what they are. They are what they are.
Yeah.
The other people, you said Malenko, Pillman, the Brainbusters.
Yes.
I don't know why you call them the Brainbusters. It's Arn and Tully.
I mean, because they were a tag team in WWE. People did vote for them separately. Was that you or was that somebody else?
I did not do any tag teams. I did not put them in.
Okay, that was somebody else who voted for them separately. Let's go. John Morrison, Sabu. That's interesting. The Sevens, man, Mickey James. I mean, she could have been higher on this dude. I'm surprised Sid Vicious got on here.
Yeah, none of these people were on my list. The Sevens I had were AJ, Ray, Ricky Steamboat, Okada, and Bret Hart. My 3-6 Jericho, Foley, and Stratus, and obviously those names were elevated by others. So, these names, I mean, they're whatever, I guess. As people's personal favorites, it's cool. I'm a little wondering who voted for Dr. Death, Steve Williams.
Oh, my homie Stefan voted for him.
Tanaka, MVP, Terry Gordy. I mean, solid workers, good acts, but on my things of, greatest of all time, that ilk, nowhere near. The only person I would say could come close would be Roman Reigns, but he's at the very, very bottom.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there were other names that didn't get put on this because obviously 6 wasn't on to make the criteria. A lot of 6s and 4s and stuff. Well, that's gonna do it for the bullet tiers. I hope you guys enjoyed this little thing. If you have any ideas about how we could improve the tier system, let us know. Or if you have any ideas about other lists we can do, because I'm a big fan of the lists. We're gonna bring the top 10 list back. I think big man is the one that we absolutely need to do. Or how about we do it, but like if we get outvoted by a number, then you know what I mean? Like, let's say I want somebody to be 1, but you and Brian both agree on that somebody else should be 1, and then that person gets the spot. You see what I'm saying? We should do something like that.
Like a democracy.
Yeah, we should do something like that. That'd be interesting.
What?
Yes, this is.
First, you need to get Brian on the show.
Yeah, that's right. We do need to get Brian on the show. A lot of great things are going to be happening, man. I didn't talk about it. I went to West Coast Pro. Fantastic show on Friday night. Everybody killed it. Starboy Charlie made his return to the ring. We'll let you have that one, Brandon. We'll let you have that one. You interviewed him in
I did one.
Yeah, man. I hear he's teaching classes at West Coast Pro, man. That's awesome. Mike Bailey versus who's the homie that's always on? He's on AEW now, the Japanese guy. You know what I'm talking about.
Takeshita.
Yeah, that match was killer. That dude is awesome. He was selling a shirt that he's only selling for a limited time in the US. Baby Hugh took a picture with him. I got to just shake Takeshita's hand. Super chill dude. Then I went to the Taco Margarita Festival at SAP Center. It was tight, man. You know, seeing Lance Archer up close, that was interesting. Not that big, believe it or not, man. Aaron Solo was there. I got to shake his hand real quick and got to go backstage and just be like, I'm in backstage at a major arena. This is kind of cool, man. So good things are happening for your boy. A lot of great things are going to be happening for this show. I have a lot of interviews planned coming up the next couple months, so be on the lookout for all of this content. Brandon, are you going to listen to all these interviews?
Of course, I listen to all the interviews.
No,
maybe not right away, but I listen to them all.
Did you listen to Paul Ponte?
Once again, I don't listen to them all right away, but I listen to them all.
So, I mean, that came out like 3 weeks ago.
Once again, I don't listen to them right away, but I'll get around to them eventually.
Wow. I'm going to report on Paul Ponte next week then.
Okay.
Yep, a lot of great stuff's coming up. And then October 9th, something special is going to happen for the BC. I can't tell you what yet because obviously it's too early, but hopefully this happens so some cool things can happen for the show. All right, guys, that is going to do it for Brandon and myself. Stay clean, stay strong, stay safe. Diamonds are forever. So is the microphone beside.
Listen to us every time we live in the side. When you turn it on, it's just defining the mind. If you feel it, our opinions is great. When everything we moving now in the state, turn us on. If the feeling is right, every opinion.
This has been the Bullcast. Thank you for listening.